So now coming to the data and integration part, right? So obviously when we are saying a case, right, there will be certain data, right? See, even if we are entering, I mean, the loan applicant's details, I mean, the personal details, their address related details, and the correspondence details, and then there are certain documents, and also everything is data, right? So obviously, I mean, nowadays you have seen that whenever we are entering, let's say, PAN number or Aadhaar number or whatever social security number and all in other countries, so depending upon that, certain details are being fetched, right, or pre-populated on the screen, correct? So those sort of integration or those sort of, I mean, let's say those datas are being fetched from a third-party system, depending upon the integrations, right, with those systems with the application, with the bank's application. Then there are different datas which are entered on behalf of the customer by the bank personnel. So those datas are stored at certain points, right, or certain let's say servers, right? So how those data fields, or how those datas or data types and the relationships between those datas, or what are the system of records that will be referred for those data types, or storing those data types or referring those data types, so those are configured in the, and that will be looking into data and integration. Then identify and create calculated values, then validation of those data and creating and configuring data validation rules, because it's not only about data, because we need to validate those data, right? I mean, uh, let's say I mean, if you in the email address, let's take a very simple example. The email address that somebody has missed out on that at the rate sign, right? So obviously there should be some sort of validation, and should not let the user to submit, right? So those sort of validation should be there. And then there are different complex business logics as well. I've just taken a simple example. Then capture and present data fields and views, that how the data will be presented, or how the views, when I say views, it's the user views, right? What the user will be seeing in the online application form, whether those fields will be distributed in two columns in a, let's say, two column structure, or where it will be a single column structure where the user will need to do a lot of vertical scroll. So these sort of views and how the fields will be configured. When I say fields, let's say there are two fields, one is dependent on the other. So on selection of the other, when you select, let's say there is a field for marital status, right? So when users will click on unmarried, right, then there will be no additional field for spouse details that will be required, or that will appear in the views or in the application. But when the user will click on married, then an additional field will be appearing in the application, where they need to provide the spouse details. So these sort of fields, and how the views will be presented, will be configured, that can be configured. Security is the will manage user and role assignments. So there are different user and role assignments, or that can be managed depending upon which they have restricted access to the application. I mean, not, I mean, business wouldn't want every user to access all the, let's say, all the details of the application, correct? There will be different roles who will be accessing certain applications or certain sections specific to them, correct? So user interface, then there are certain user interface customization which can be provided. Then application development is managing the application development, user stories, feedbacks, and bugs through PEGA. We have this integration with Agile Workbench, the inbuilt into it, into this PEGA application or PEGA platform, through which the user stories, the feedbacks, and the bugs in show and tell in different in demo sessions. Demo sessions are termed and show and tell sessions in PEGA terminology. So those feedbacks, bugs are also captured over there along with the user stories. Then there are certain reporting capabilities of PEGA, right? So creating business reports and identify the type of reports, using of columns and filters that are, I mean, you use filters and reports to shrink the number of or limit the number of data, right? That is displayed in the screen. So how the filters are applied and all. Then there is mobilities, how the mobile app channels and use of PEGA mobile preview, how this PEGA application can be used in the mobile view or from the mobile channel, right? So that will also be that will also be discussed over here. So these are the overall course contents that are, I mean, there are a lot of things, but this is the overall on a high level that what we need to look into for the certification. Okay, and this is based on the latest version of PEGA. I mean, there are changes to the different versions. I mean, let's say every 3-4 months or every 5-6 months, the version keeps on. Currently, it's going on PEGA 8.6, Certified Business Architect. So we'll be going to the latest version of this certification course. So now, as I was mentioning, just to give you a few highlights, like before I mean, today I won't be entering into the details of these modules, but just to give you a highlight, like what is BPM and what is PEGA and all. I have already discussed, but let's look into it one more time. So business process management, or BPM, is a methodology to manage process and workflows in organization. Is basically helps in automate the process, right, or automate work that is necessary to achieve a specific outcome. So the goal of BPM is to increase the efficiency, performance, and agility in the day-to-day operations of a business, and it has been widely adopted by organizations, and which is essential for any enterprise business that wants to be competitive in today's market. For example, the world's leading airlines utilize BPM to manage flight schedules and terminal operations, right? So as I mentioned, that it's the methodology to manage the process and workflows in an organization. This workflow model is very important when it has come. I mean, see, initially the applications, or it was not portrayed in the form that how the business users think, because and it becomes pretty difficult for the business users to use the application, correct? But now, since PEGA has provided a way to collaborate these siloed applications and develop an application in a manner in which actually business users think and describe their work, like say through different case journeys or through different workflow models. So it helps in increasing the efficiency, performance, and the agility in day-to-day operations of the business. And also it helps in uh, managing the business in a much more simpler way, right? More can be done in a simpler way. That is how the BPM has helped. So now, moving into PEGA. So PEGA is a BPM tool which supports low code model driven application development, as I mentioned earlier also. So the PEGA platform enables business users to work together with IT to configure applications, because since this PEGA platform works on this workflow model, and it's a more of a visual driven or visual tool, where the users can, I mean, do a lot of things with guided use wizards, or a wizard based model. So that's why it has also helped the business user or the citizen developers as in non-technical users, to work on these visual tools instead of writing those codes.
So, Arnab, sorry to cut you there. Uh,
Mhm.
so, because you were emphasizing on visual tools and all that, right? Because these
Correct.
things, we can probably learn this, even day one of the class. Is it possible for you to actually log in and show like how Pega system looks?
Mm, yeah, let me check. There is a case type. See, there are different studios, I mean, involved. So I'll not go to into these studios now. So let me look into this. If I can show you the workflow model. Yeah. So if you see over here, this is a case life cycle for auto loan, right? Where I mean, these are stages: collect, review, approve. So these are the different stages within which there are process: collect, auto reject, notified in this manual review, and these are the steps: application info, income info, vehicle info, right? So you do not have to. I mean, see, when you are adding steps, right, it automatically builds a flow in the backend, correct? How will I show you from this?
Like, no, is there a schema for this each flow?
Let me show you this video. Schema as in
Like the visual representation of the diagrams,
uh,
like
right,
the
right, right, right.
relationships and all that.
Correct, correct, correct. So it's a flow that is already. I mean, let me show you that. Mm, yeah. See, whenever you click this applicant info, right? This is a step, correct? So
Mhm.
within this collect stage, first you click capture the applicant's information, then their income information, the vehicle information. So instead of writing those huge codes, correct? So you are adding steps over here, right? And then you can configure the view from this. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, when you configure the view, you saying how which fields you want to add. So see, the thing is that to reduce the amount of coding, right? So it provides you, depending upon the platform or the OOTB capability, it provides you with certain fields. And on top of that, you can add fields over here also. And then you can select those fields. It will appear over here. And it's all a drop down, whether you want to add, I mean, let's say, what will be it? It will be a view field, or it will be a read only field only, or it can be editable and all. So this is what I was trying to, I mean, say that everything is, I mean, a minimal amount of coding is involved. It's all sort of a guided wizard sort of approach, or a visual tool through which this can be configured. I'm just helping with a simple example. I mean, there are a lot of complex examples as well. So everything is, if you see, it's on this visual tool. Instead of writing these codes earlier for a field and to define it, these fields, whether it's a read only, or whether it can be editable, right? So you have to do a lot of coding involved, right? Raw coding. But over here, if you see, there are minimal coding. I mean, there, in fact, there is no coding only. You just select the field and you just select the relationship, and you just select the options that whether it will be read only and not, right? And those will be available in your application. So once you define those fields over here, correct?
Mhm.
Now, if I can go to the preview application, so then there are different income info, vehicle info, loan info. You can add more steps to it. And then once this collection is done, then the case moves to the review stage, where the whatever the information is entered, those are reviewed. And after the review, then there is the underwriting step. And once it is done, everything is reviewed and everything is okay, then it goes to the approval part. Correct. So this is how the flow is for a particular case. And this is the workflow, I would say, workflow model. Okay. So now if you preview the application, depending upon the configuration that is made, let me create a new case for a particular customer. See over here, this applicant first name, last name, age, then there's the contact details, the address details, right? So these are, then the applicant info. Remember, within that collect stage, you had seen the applicant info, the income info, the vehicle info, and
Yes.
loan info, correct? So
Yeah.
if you see over here, every details that was configured, I mean the fields and all, so those are appearing over here, correct? But those I haven't done any coding. I haven't entered any screen where you had seen any coding or something. Correct. Now on top of these, if some customization is required, let's say if this model, right? Let's say if this model is, let's say if there is for a specific model, you need to show something, or depending upon that, then certain customizations, I mean that again depends upon the business requirements, right? I mean we generally provide a vanilla model, and on top of that, depending upon the customizations, the minimal amount of coding, that there comes a role of a system architect, otherwise they wouldn't have been required, right? But what I was trying to say is that it has got minimal coding in PEGA. I mean, that's the motto, that to reduce the amount of coding and to make it more sort of a visual approach, right? So that it becomes easier for, I mean, even the non-technical person to quickly build a sort of case and showcase to the client during the requirement gathering or requirement discussion phase, because the PEGA do provide the capability of capturing, gathering and capturing the requirements directly in the PEGA platform itself, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, right, then I think we are past our time. So, I mean, this is all we discussed, right? Role of a business architects in PEGA, and why CPBA is required. I mean, to enroll a resource in PEGA projects and allow business architects to learn and apply PEGA capabilities in PEGA projects. Because unless you are going through the CPBA course and you are not aware about the PEGA projects, then in the client requirement discussion, correct, then how would you project or highlight the PEGA capabilities when they will be asking for a certain requirement, right, in terms of solution approach or proposed approach. So allow the business architects to get well versed with the PEGA terminologies and concepts, then conduct the DCO sessions, gathering of requirements, analyzing them more flexibly in alignment with PEGA, and engage in customer workshops more efficiently. So these are certain things or certain reasons why the CPBA course, I mean, is required. And moreover, I mean, in any of the organization, whenever you will be working in a PEGA project, you have to have, I mean, get yourself PEGA certified. So yeah. So that was all. That was a quick deck which I prepared for today's demo session, and I think I've gone into areas which will be pretty difficult for you to understand on the very first day of the session, but yeah, still I tried to keep it in as simple as possible.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. So now, once we finish the CPBA, right? Like, say
Correct.
we do this course, we do our
Hmm.
certification, and we get
Right.
the certification. Then we start working in a project. Say 1 year or 6 months or 2 years, we work. What would be our next, career growth in this after
Okay.
BP?
Okay. So that again comes in line with your organizational, I mean, role definition, I would say, because for a business architect, I mean, CPBA needs to be taken by a business architect who will be working in PEGA projects. Now, that business architect can be a junior business architect. I mean, if your organization says like first level is consultant, then senior consultant, then let's say manager level, that is the organization role, right? But when it comes to the business architect sort of designation or role, it's the business architect, then the senior business architect, then the lead business architect, then the principal business architect, correct? So depending upon each business architect role, I mean, be it from the junior level to the topmost, I mean, senior level, you have to have yourself PEGA certified, and the certified PEGA business architect certification if you are engaged and enrolled in a PEGA project, right? And after this CPBA, you can also try out, I mean, those are different areas. Then there is marketing certified PEGA marketing, I mean, the certification, or a decision consultant certification. So those are different areas.
Okay. Thank you, Anna.
Okay, so I think we are over time by 6 minutes. So anyone has any question, or we can end today's session?
No, I think we are good.
Okay, then thank you all for joining today's session.
All right. Thank you, Anna. Thanks for your time, and thanks for
Thanks,
letting me
Arnav.
know.
Sure. Same to you. Have a good day. Bye bye.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.